Hello everyone. I thought I would do a video today about when it's safe to move your orchids and then when not to move your orchids. I'm asked about this a lot and I know why. It's because I do move my orchids around. I like to have a kitchen display, and so that requires me moving them, and I like to update my display really often. So some of you have asked me, we thought that it was never good to move your orchids. So please explain how you can move your orchids safely. It's a really good question for me right now because I'm starting to centrally locate most all of my orchids in my sunroom and on my first floor. I have kind of decided that the second floor, I'm not going to be toting water up and down the steps anymore. So I've got two of them in spike upstairs in my second floor grow room. And then as soon as they start blooming, I'm going to move them down here. It's just going to make things a little bit easier for me to be able to water things on one floor. And I'm going to try to put as many orchids as I can in the sunroom. I say that with keeping in mind I want to be able to sit in my sunroom myself. So yeah, I've got a lot of orchids. So I'm going to try to put as many of those in my sunroom as I can. So let me show you when is not a good time to move an orchid. Okay, what I'm showing you here are buds on my little Soho Vivian. And as you see, there are some larger buds, some smaller buds that are still maturing, and I have got it faced towards this window. I will not move this orchid. I will not move this orchid at all while it's budding. While it's budding, you leave them alone. You leave them right in front of the window. I don't even turn them until 2 or 3 buds have already bloomed out. Then it's okay to move it so that it faces the inside of your room. But for right now, I leave it just exactly this way. And here's another for instance. I don't move them while they're budding at all. While they're spiking, once they start a spike, I move that spike so that it will face the window, and then I don't move them. When I water them and I take them out of these windows, then I make sure that that spike is facing the very same way towards the window. So while your orchid is spiking and budding, that is not a good time to move it. Leave it right where it is. Okay, once it's all bloomed out, or even about halfway bloomed out, then it's okay to turn that plant around facing the inside of your room. Now I have found that I could even take this into my kitchen and it won't have any negative effects on the blooms at all. Okay, so here's another example of one that I don't move. This is my Dendrobium Burana Jade Fantasy number 9, and look at the buds on this gorgeous orchid. Okay, see how I have it facing towards the window. I'm going to leave it like this until 3 or 4 of them are bloomed out. Then I can turn it around so that I can see the blooms from the inside of the room. Okay, so here's an example of a time when it's okay to move an orchid from room to room. This was in front of my dining room window. This is April's Hope, and it's just coming out of bloom. And I'm wanting it to have its home permanently back here in my sunroom. So while it was blooming, I pretty much left it in front of the window where it spiked and where it budded, and I left it there even through its bloom cycle. But now it's a good time to go ahead and move that one back here where I want its permanent home to be, because it's not blooming, it's not budding, it's kind of in between its bloom cycle. So now is a good time for it to find a permanent home back here in my sunroom. Okay, and here's another good example of when I don't move them. This is my Cattleya, and what you're seeing in the middle of this screen, this is the flower sheath, and you can tell there are some buds that are starting to form in that flower sheath. So I am not going to do anything with this plant. I'm going to leave it right where it is. I'm not going to move it. That's the thing. I'm not going to move it. I'm going to face it back towards this window, the very same position in front of this window. Then when it starts blooming out, then I can face those flowers whichever way I want to. But if I move it before then, what's going to happen is either the buds are going to blast or they're going to come out in all different directions. That's not what I want. So there's a time to move them. There's a time not to move them. Just keep in mind, once they're spiking, keep that spike facing the window the very same way. And then when they're budding, same thing. You're going to keep those buds facing straight towards the window, straight towards the light source. Then once they start blooming out, they've got 2 or 3 blooms on them already. Then you can move them, say, from your dining room into your living room to display them if you'd like. Okay, so I'm going to show you a close-up of my fowl, Marianne. She has been she's been in an eastern-facing window in my living room, which is right beside my kitchen, and I let all 4 of these blooms bloom out entirely before I moved it back into the kitchen, just to make sure that those buds would not blast. So it's here in my kitchen display now. And I did the same thing with this fowl. This is Fowl Pink Twilight. I love the colors of this fowl. When she bloomed out, I just wanted her to be here in the kitchen so I could enjoy her every day. She was actually back in my sunroom, and I almost didn't move her back here because I thought, you know, the humidity in the sunroom is a little bit different than here in my kitchen. But I did it on a day when it was warmer. It has been very cold here the last few days. I probably wouldn't have done it then, but I did it on a day that it was about 60 degrees outside. And so obviously the humidity in the sunroom and the humidity in my house were pretty much the same. So when I moved her into my kitchen, all is well. No bud blast, and oh my, I have really enjoyed her being here on my kitchen table. Love this fowl. And I think I've covered as many questions in this video as you all have asked me recently about how I move my orchids, when I do and when I don't. If you all have any other questions, just leave them below in the comments section for me. And thought I would leave you with a beautiful view of my DTPS Soho Gotris Flora Arc. Gorgeous little miniature. I love the colors in this one. So you all be highly favored, deeply loved, and greatly blessed, and we'll talk to you all next time.